So, good evening to all of you once again. Let's start for today's session of discussion of Economic Survey of India. So, all of us know that Economic Survey of India is released every year by the Government of India. The Economic Survey is released by the Department of Economic Affairs and it is made by the Chief Economic Advisor of India. Every year before the budget is put in front of the Parliament, the Economic Survey of India is published by the Government of India. Anyone knows what is the purpose of publishing the economic survey? Like every year, the government publishes the economic survey 1 day before the government budget is put in front of the in the parliament. So, what is the purpose of publishing the economic survey? Any idea? Yes, Ritika, do you know
Yes, sir.
why the economic survey is published every year by the government before the budget is put in front of the parliament?
Comparing the last budget and new one budget.
Okay, comparing. Okay, fine. So is it comparing or is it like what you can say to assess the performance of the government's what you can say the fiscal policies in the previous year? Comparing is of course comparing is there. Comparing is not with the current budget. Comparing with the previous year budget. Like for example, Economic Survey of India normally gives the data of last 10 years, last 25 years. So it's not we can't say that it is comparing with the current year budget. So we can say that is assessment of the government's performance in terms of fiscal policy in previous year. Like so, the government budget which will be put on 1st of February in the Parliament, that will be for the upcoming year. But this year, the budget which has been published by the government today or maybe yesterday, it was related to what was the performance of the government in previous year in terms of its fiscal policies, in terms of its expenditure policies, in terms of its revenues, in terms of like overall macroeconomic management of the country. So that is why the economic survey is published every year before the parliamentary budget is due. So how economic survey helps us in understanding? For you can say economic survey helps in many ways for various what you can say the sections of the society. Economic survey helps for the businessman to understand that what was the government of India's performance previous year and what is going to be the future of the economic growth of the country. It also helps the government to make the policy, because when you read the economic survey, we come to know that we have performed well in which sector and we have performed worst in which sector. So it can help in deciding the priorities of the government in the upcoming year's budget, like where the government should spend more money, where the government should, what you can say, give more priority while spending their money in the upcoming year, right? So we know that this year's was an what you can say not a normal year for India, not only for India, for the whole world. This year was a pandemic year, that almost the whole year was what you can say was vested in the lockdown. Like almost around 6 to 7 months was a complete lockdown. It was a complete what you can say stopping of the economic activities in India, and not only in India, all over the world. So this year's economic survey is going to be a little different than the economic survey of the previous year. So now what is important for us, like as we are a UPSC aspirant, and what is required for us to know in the economic survey of India? We know that many successful candidates who have qualified UPSC civil services exam, they suggest the students to read the economic survey. Now again the question arises whether shall we read the whole economic survey, because we know that for last 2 or 3 years, the government has started a practice of publishing 2 volumes of the economic survey. Earlier, the government used to publish only 1 volume of the economic survey, but nowadays the government is publishing 2 volumes of economic survey, volume 1 and volume 2. So in volume 1, it's a more a kind of what you can say the philosophical information, and you can see in volume 1, government gives its side that why we like how we have tried to achieve the economic growth, what were the positives of the Indian government side. So that is all there in the volume 1. But volume 2 is the real what you can say the data which we can understand now. So we are going to focus more on volume 2 rather than focusing on the volume 1. Yes, some parts of the volume 1 also we are going to what you can say read and we are going to study, but we are going to focus more on volume 2. Now again question arises, do we need to read the whole economic survey? Because economic survey is a very bulky document. You must have all seen that there are more than around you can see that more than 700 to 800 pages are there in both volume 1 and volume 2. So do you need to read all the pages of the economic survey or not for UPSC point of view? That I'm going to discuss with you. So as I told you that you don't need to read everything. What I'm going to discuss today, what are the important findings of the economic survey in this year, and which topics or which what you can say the chapters of the economic survey or which unit of the economic survey you are supposed to read, that I am going to discuss you today. So let me share the screen with you. I'm directly going to what you can say discuss the economic survey from the government website, right? So can you all see the screen? Is it visible to all of you? Can you all see the on your screen? Can you all see the economic survey website? Is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now here you can see that economic survey. So this is the official website, that is indiabudget.gov.in. Here you can get both the surveys of the both the volumes of the economic survey. If you no need to go to any like market or no need to buy any volumes, you can get it, and you can get the whatever is required, right? So I'm going to start with two important statements given by our finance minister as well as the Minister of State of the Finance. So what is there in this year's economic survey that I'll try to understand? I will read the statement given by Nirmala Sitharaman. She says that the economic survey 2020-21 elucidates how India has resolutely battled the unprecedented crisis triggered by COVID-19. So we know that we had a battle in last year. So how the government has, what you can say, tried to counter or try to what you can say go through these crisis of COVID-19. India has charted its own unique trajectory, showing remarkable resilience in saving lives and livelihood. You know, one of the important success of the government in this pandemic was that we have tried to keep our mortality rate as low as possible compared to other parts of the world. Compared to the developed countries, and considering the size of population of the country, considering the health infrastructure in the country, considering what you can say the level of health awareness among the population in the country, we have shown a remarkable resilience in saving the lives and livelihood of the people. India is mature and calibrated. The government of India's mature and calibrated policy response to turn the crisis into an opportunity helped in both controlling the pandemic and cushioning the economy. So you can see this year's economic survey has focused more on the fact that how the crisis has created more opportunities for India rather than creating more challenges to India. So we need to understand which are the opportunities we have created during this pandemic, and how this pandemic has also helped in cushioning the economy. And encapsulating this period, the survey charts out a growth and policy path to provide further momentum to India's sustainable economic recovery. So we have seen that recently India has what you can say economic recovery. There are signs of recovery of the economic growth of the country. Like few months back, like maybe 6 months back, the economic growth was minus 24%. It was economic contraction was around 24%. But now we can say last data had shown that India's economic recovery was around what you can say minus 20, minus what you can say the 7%. So yes, we have started a momentum for the recovery, and what government is going to do to keep that recovery momentum alive, and how we are going to achieve the what you can say the economic growth to the pre-pandemic level. So we know that India as a nation, we were trying to have what you can say, we were trying to become a 5 trillion economy. And to become a 5 trillion economy, India must grow around 11 to 12% per year. If India grows at 11 to 12% per year, then only we can achieve the target of becoming a 5 trillion economy. So how the government of India is going to achieve that growth, how we are going to again come back to that level of economic growth of 11 to 12% per year, that is what is explained in this economic survey, right? So now what are the important highlights of this economic survey is also given here, what we are going to what you can say discuss in this economic survey. So can you all see the screen, the volume 1 of the economic survey? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do we need to read? Like I told you, there are 2 volumes of economic survey. The first volume is about the government's what you can say the stand on the economic situation of the country. So of course, this survey has been published by the government, so government will always say that everything is good, everything is goody goody, everything is what you can say fine, that sab kuch changa se aise government kahega. So how everything is fine in Indian economy, that's what is explained in volume 1. So in volume 1 there is no data, volume 1 there is no what you can say the more data. In volume 1 it is more a kind of philosophical discussion, or what you can say to encourage the businessman, to encourage the people, to encourage what you can say the private entrepreneurs. So all the information whatever is given in volume 1 is for what you can say it is a kind of philosophical discussion. But the volume 2 is actually the data which we are supposed to study for UPSC. So first we are going to discuss what is there in volume 1. So in volume 1, first topic is preface. Preface means you need to read the preface. You don't need to read the remaining points, but you can read preface. Second topic is saving lives and livelihood amid the once a century crisis. So here in this economic survey, the government has explained that how the government has saved the lives and livelihoods of the people in a century crisis. Like ऐसा जो crisis आया था, the pandemic crisis was like once in a century type of crisis, which is the COVID-19. So how the government of India tried to save the lives of the people and livelihoods of the people. So can anybody tell me what is the meaning of livelihood? What do you understand by the term livelihood?
The way of living.
Sorry? Livelihood means
the way of
the
living.
source of what you can say, the source of income, or the source of what you can say the
Income source of earning.
Yes. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So livelihood means the people are living in a what you can say the people are living how the people have saved their livelihoods, like their jobs and all. So of course, जहाँ पर जो भी discuss किया गया in this topic, that how the government has tried to what you can say save the lives and livelihoods of the people is mentioned here. But all of you know that not everything was good during the pandemic. We know that the government has failed on in many fronts in saving the livelihood of the people. We have seen there were many problems with respect to the migrant worker. There were many problems with the micro and small medium enterprises. We have already seen that how this pandemic has affected on the women as well as in the rural areas. So, but of course, अब यहाँ पर जो दिया गया है वो government का point of view दिया गया है. You just read it out. The negative points of how the government has failed in managing the lives and livelihoods of the people, that you can get it from the newspaper. So that we will be discussing when we will be discussing the newspaper. Next is, does growth lead to debt sustainability? Yes, but not vice versa. Now, of course, here they have taken a stand that growth lead to debt sustainability. Economic growth जो होता है country का, whenever we have a growth of the country, so whatever we are borrowing, do you remember in yesterday's session only, I talked about that this year the government may need to borrow more because of the low revenue generation. So that is what is mentioned here. If we go to more growth, can we have a debt sustainability? Debt sustainability means that when the government is going to borrow more after like maybe 4 years or after maybe 5 years, government has to repay back that debt. So growth only can help in repaying back the loan. So that is why we need to focus more on the sustainability and we need to focus more on the growth of the country. So how the government is trying to sustain, or how government is going to recover back the growth, that is what is explained here. Second is, does India's sovereign credit rating reflect its fundamentals? No. Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of sovereign credit rating? Any idea what do you mean by the term called sovereign credit rating?
So credit rating by credit rating agencies like Moody's and S&P's.
Okay.
So like if you want to borrow some money from abroad, based on your credit rating, like the IMF or World Bank or any other, they will give you based on your rating. Basically, that's the
okay. So sovereign credit rating means, sovereign का मतलब होता है government, and we know whenever the government borrows money from external sources, the people who are going to invest in India, the people who are going to what we can say like give loan to government, like as I told you that if the government is in deficit of its like a budget, so government borrows loan from outside sources. So जब भी कोई इंसान, for example, if an American wants to buy the government of India's securities and bond, he look at the ratings given by the various credit rating agencies. So there are various credit rating agencies like S&P, Moody's, CRISIL, and there are some other credit rating agency which gives a rating for the India's sovereign debt. Sovereign debt का मतलब क्या होता है? जब गवर्नमेंट कोई सिक्योरिटीज एंड बॉन्ड जब इश्यू करता है, जब गवर्नमेंट कोई कर्जा लेता है, तो उसको सोवरिन क्रेडिट कहा जाता है. So whenever a foreigner, like for example an American or a British person or a Malaysian or Thailand or you can in Singapore person, they want to buy the government securities and bond, they first look at the ratings given by the various credit rating agencies. So what has happened that many of the credit rating agencies in the world, they have not given a good credit rating for India. All of you got it? So majority of the credit rating agencies in the world have not given good credit rating for India, and that is what is mentioned here. Does India's sovereign credit rating reflect its fundamentals? And the answer is no. So what government is saying here that whatever the credit ratings are given by the credit rating agency to India, they are not based on the fundamentals of the Indian economy. So they have given ratings on a false understanding of the fundamentals. So as per the government is saying that the fundamentals of the Indian economy are strong. Now आप मुझे बताइए what do you understand by the term, sir? Like many times you must have seen that the finance minister of India as well as the government, like Prime Minister of India, they always say that the fundamentals of the Indian economy are strong. So what do you understand by this term, like fundamentals of the Indian economy are strong? किसी भी इकोनॉमी के फंडामेंटल स्ट्रांग है, ऐसा अगर कोई कहता है तो इसका मतलब क्या?
मतलब सर जो कंट्री जो भी बाहर का जो भी क्रेडिट रेटिंग जो भी सॉवरेन क्रेडिट रेटिंग जैसे जितने भी रहते हैं ना सर, गवर्नमेंट का वो अच्छा चलता है, मतलब मेंटेनेंस बैलेंस.
No. Fundamentals of the Indian economy are strong. Like as per the Economic Survey of India, the credit rating agencies are not considered the fundamentals of the economy, and that is not reflected in the rating. That is what is meant by the Economic Survey. So fundamentals मतलब क्या? किसी भी economy के fundamental strong होता है मतलब exactly क्या होता है? What are the fundamentals of the economy?
Sir, basically two parameters are there, like whether you are willing to repay the loans, and the other one is the ability to repay the loans. And based on your like foreign exchange reserves and based on your different parameters, like they see this, they analyze this whether your fundamentals are strong or not, like whether you can repay the loan or not.
Yes. So two criteria, as you told, that whether the country has a capacity to repay back the loan or not in long term. So as you have rightly said that किसी भी country का fundamental अगर strong है तो वो किस पे depend होता है कि whether that country has enough foreign exchange reserve or not, right? So as we know that the government like Indian government or in India we have enough foreign exchange reserve. Apart from that, what are the other criteria of deciding whether the economic fundamentals are better or not? One is the inflation rate in that country. Then again, the potential to grow in that country. Second is what is the current account deficit, and again what is the demand in that economy, what is the manpower in that economy, what you can say the potential for the growth of that economy. So as per the Economic Survey of India, they are saying that the Economic Survey of India says that the India's fundamentals are strong, and that's the reason they are saying that the credit rating agencies ने जो भी credit rating दिया है, that does not reflect its fundamental, and that is why they are saying the fundamentals are not reflected in the sovereign credit. So that's why they have said. So in this what you can say in this unit, they have explained that how the Indian fundamentals are strong. Second is inequality and growth. So we know that in India there is a growth, but that growth is not unequal, right? So what are the conflicts? Why there is no inequality and inequality in the growth in the economy, and how we can be able to converge the inequality in the country? Like we know recently भी आपने देखा होगा कि recently there was one survey released by one of the international organization which said that in India the rich have become more richer and the poor have become more poor. तो पैंडेमिक में हमने ये देखा था कि पैंडेमिक में जो millennials in India में they have become more richer, while the common man or the poor people have become more poorer here. So the inequality between the poor and rich has increased in India. So how we can reduce that inequality in the income inequality, basically income inequality, That is what is explained in this income and equality and growth. What are the conflicts and what are the convergence? Now, second is finally the healthcare sector has taken the center stage. Can anybody tell me why the healthcare sector has taken center stage in the economic policies of the country? Because we know that many a times it has been criticized for the government that a government was not spending more money on the health sector in India. It was expected that it is expected that government should spend around 6% of its total GDP on the healthcare. But अभी मुझे बताइए कि why the government has given more priority to the health sector finally now? Why government wants to spend more money on the health sector in this year's budget? Yes, Ritika, what could be the reason for that? Hello, am I audible to you, Ritika?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Vaccine.
Yes.
COVID-19 vaccine, sir.
Okay, fine. Yes, Anshu Kumari, continue.
Yes, sir, the same thing that India is leading in vaccine production, so that's why more
But
income will be.
vaccine production is actually done by the private company, right? Serum Institute of
But
India.
sir, most of the manufacturing is being done in India. That's why.
That's okay, but my question is that why in the government policies, why the healthcare sector, here the term is very important, healthcare has taken a center stage finally. Why there was a need to give more priority to the healthcare sector in India?
Sir, because this time COVID-19 shows that the infrastructure of country is very weak.
Yes.
Health
So
infrastructure.
this pandemic and this COVID-19, what you consider the crisis, has exposed the fragileness of the Indian healthcare sector. Like we have seen that why there was a need to go for lockdown, because we were not having enough beds, we were not having enough oxygen cylinders which were required for the COVID care management. We know that our healthcare infrastructure or hospitals were not ready, our the government health infrastructure was not ready. So this pandemic has shown us a mirror for the India that why we need to focus more on the healthcare sector in case if there is any such type of future crisis in India. अगर इंडिया में फ्यूचर में इस तरीके का अगर कोई क्राइसिस आता है तो ऐसे सिचुएशन में we need to ready for that, right? So that is why this pandemic has exposed the fragileness of the Indian healthcare sector in India. All of you got it? तो इस पीरियड में हमने देखा था कि हमारे पास in the beginning like 1 to 2 months we were not having the enough beds. हमें स्टेडियम का इस्तेमाल करना पड़ा for creation of the COVID care centers. We have used the government the hostels, colleges. We have used the stadiums for managing such type of the healthcare in India, right? At the same time, we also find out that we were not having proper PPE equipments. We were not having proper the mask available in the market in the economy. We have also seen that हमारे यहाँ पर जितने सिलेंडर्स की जरूरत थी उतने सिलेंडर्स अवेलेबल नहीं थे. So many people died because of the lack of the availability of the gas cylinders in India. So nowadays government is focusing more on this particular aspect of the economy, that we need to focus more on the healthcare of the people. So we are focusing more on vaccination. We are focusing more on the PPE kits. We are focusing more on creating more beds in the country. We are focusing more on training our health workers in such type of crisis, and we are also trying to focus more on creating a health infrastructure which will be needed for future such type of pandemic in India. So that is what is mentioned here. Finally, the government has taken taken healthcare as a priority, and now every policy of the government will be taken by keeping healthcare at the center stage. All of you got it? Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Check it. Now, next is okay. Is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
now,
sir.
next is process of reforms. Can anybody tell me what is reforms? Hello, am I audible to you? What is reforms?
Reforms in the
Economic reforms,
sector.
right? We have seen that government of India
Yes, sir,
started economic reforms from 1991. So the current
From
government has continued that process of reforms. We have seen that government has continued the reforms in the agricultural sector. It has continued the reforms in the what you can say, more privatization of the inefficient government companies. The government has started reforms in the aviation sector. It has started reforms in what you can say in the other sector as well, like in the health sector as well. So how the government government of India has continued the process of reform is been explained here. Second is regulatory forbearance and emergency medicine, not staple diet. So this is about the emergency medicine से related एक लिखा गया है, because हमने देखा था कि recently the government has allowed the co-vaccine, which is a vaccine of the Bharat Biotech, which is the government of India's vaccine. So even before the third stage trial data has been what you can say released, उससे पहले भी government ने क्या किया था, उस वैक्सीन को अलाउड किया गया था इमरजेंसी तौर पर. तो वो क्यों किया गया था, और why we have what you can say not focus more on the regulation of that what you can say declaration of that medicine is explained here. Second is innovation trending up but needs trust, especially from the private sector. So we have seen that during this pandemic there was more room and there was more what you can say the focus given on the innovation in every sector of the economy, whether it is the education sector, whether it is like health sector, or whether it is like payment sector, whether it is banking sector, whether it is agriculture sector. So all the sector in India, the crisis has what you can say crisis has made a chance, or what you can say it has allowed India to go for more innovation, right? So but again, you know, innovation needs to be trusted. Innovation की बहुत ज़रूरत है in various like giving solution to all the socio-economic problems of the country. But the trust needed to be given by the private sector, because we know government is not capable enough to go for more innovations nowadays. So that is why the government is focusing more that the private sector should go for more innovation. Like they should focus more on the innovation in India. Last is Jay Ho, Prime Minister JAY. Anyone knows what is this JAY? Prime PM JAY. Yes, Wasik.
Jan Arogya.
Yes, the
Jan Arogya
government Jan Arogya Yojana, which was also famously called as the Ayushman Bharat earlier. Now the Ayushman Bharat scheme has been renamed as Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So what was the adoption of this Jan Arogya Yojana, and what was the outcome of the what you can say health indicators? Like when government has started implementing this scheme, that is Ayushman Bharat or Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So what was the outcome of that particular scheme, that is explained here? And the last is the bare necessities. What are the bare necessities for the economic growth is been explained. So you can see, looking at the index of all these points which is mentioned in the volume 1, we can say here it is only about why the government feels that the economy of the country is in well shape. So as I told you, that volume 1 is all about the government side of economic management, how the government has managed it well, and how the government has what you can say continued the process, how it has taken focus on the healthcare, how it is trying to converge the inequality, how the credit rating agencies are not reflecting the basic fundamentals of the economy, and how they are saying that how the government of India has tried to save the lives and livelihoods of the population of the country. That is being explained in volume 1. So you can say volume 1 is not the reality. Yes, it is the government, what you can say, the perspective of the economy of the country, right? So what used to happen earlier, that earlier both the government perspective as well as the data used to be given in one particular volume only. But nowadays the current government has started a practice that the government perspective is given in volume 1, and in volume 2 the data is been given in volume 2. So all of you got it? Now इसमें से volume 1 में आपको पढ़ना क्या है? First thing what you need to read, one that you need to read about the this particular topic, that is inequality and growth, conflict and convergence. This topic is useful for you in paper 3 topic, in general studies paper 3 mains exam. So here there is one topic called growth and development. So there you can take some of the points, that what is the status of inequality and growth in India, and how the government is trying to converge that inequality in India. So this particular volume is useful for you in paper 3. Second, this particular topic, that is what was the outcome of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Question can be asked in the paper 2 topic, because we have seen that in paper 2 there is one topic called health and education. So question can be asked on the design and implementation of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So here, of course, since it is a government publication, they have talked about the successes of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. The negatives of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has been already explained in the Indian Express. The author or the writer is Sujata Rao. So you can read Sujata Rao's article for negative points of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, but for the positive points, you can read this particular article, this particular volume for understanding what was the outcome of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So this too is important. Innovation is also important because we know in paper 3 there is a topic called on innovation. Question can also be asked on the innovation because innovation is a need of the hour. So innovation for both private and government sector is required. But most priority, most thrust should be given by the private sector. That is what is explained here. So these are topics you need to read from volume 1. All of you got it? Is it visible to all of you? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
Yes.
here you can see here some data, some graphs and charts have been given at the bottom. So I'm going to discuss about these charts and data and we can see these graphs. Prelims, majority of the prelims questions are being asked from these data. So one thing which has been like बहुत अच्छी चीज ये गवर्नमेंट ने इस बार किया है कि सारा जो इम्पोर्टेंट जो डेटा है वो सारा डेटा उन्होंने इस जगह पर दिया हुआ है. So majority of the questions in the prelims exam are asked on the trends of the recent trends. So I will be discussing about this data in the next session. All of you have to use the same link to join again because only 2 minutes are left now. The session may be ended. So all of you have to use the same link to join again to discuss about all these graphs, what is the meaning of all these graphs and how the question can be asked in the prelims exam on this graph. And we will also try to understand what you are supposed to read in volume 2. Volume 2 में आपको क्या पढ़ना है और कैसे पढ़ना है, that we will try to understand. Apart from this, we will also try to understand what are the recent trends or what is the performance of the economy in the previous year. And that we are going to understand by going through all this data which is given on the government website. So all of you please use the same link to join the next session again. So I'm ending the session here.
Okay,
Please join again within a minute.
Yes.
Okay, sir.